What's up, guys? Corey has no life here. Welcome to episode number 9 of the F1 Noob career mode here on F1 2019. We're kicking things off with R&D failures here. As you can see, the only thing we got was the durability on the ICE, the major engine upgrade, and the minor aero upgrade that we ordered, neither of which went through. So we've actually got enough points in hand at the moment that we can set that minor aero upgrade to go again, which will leave us just 5 points left over altogether. So we get that one squared away. We'll probably go and do the engine upgrade at the end of the episode when we get the rest of the points in. So we're going to have a quick little look at the R&D tree here, and we are definitely right in the thick of things with Alfa Romeo and ourselves, and we're just behind McLaren, kind of leaving Toro Rosso in the dust there. And now we go into practice number 1.
You join us here in France at the Circuit Paul Ricard for an exciting free practice, hopefully setting the mood for the rest of the weekend. Anthony Davidson, how much time will the teams be using to make changes to the car here?
Well, you have basic checks first of all. You know, is the car working correctly? What are the track conditions like? And you'll be chasing that as the session goes on. Things like that. Then you start getting into the nitty-gritty of it all, and they become more like test sessions where it's all about gathering new data, testing components, tweaking the setup, and so on. So there's only so much actual practice that these drivers need. Most of them will be plenty familiar enough with the track layout, either from previous experience or from the simulator.
Alrighty, so we're going to get into the first practice session here.
And with all the cars now over the line, let's see our
as
top
you can
three
see,
again. Leclerc, Vettel, and Lewis
we have
Hamilton.
practiced ourselves
What an
into
incredible
P9 here in the
practice
first
session.
practice.
The fun doesn't stop here, though.
This is just
Join
where we
us
did like
again
all
as
the
rest of the weekend unfolds.
durability and make the fuel in the ERS last, and track acclimatization. We're not going to start pushing it till the next session. Lucas Weaver up there in 4th. And we've got George Russell up in 13th for practice here, which is good for him, and Devin Butler down in 16th. As we move on to the next session
it's time
now.
to remind ourselves of our top
And
three.
as you can see, we did a little bit better in this one. We got up to P4 in the practice session in P2.
Weekend of Formula One.
And we scroll down, Lucas Weaver in P8. And we scroll down even further, we can see that Devin Butler is down there in 13th. And our teammate, George Russell, all the way down in 18th in this one, which is not so good for him. So I decided, because I got all the practice programs out of the way, I'd just simulate practice 3 here. We didn't have an interview with Claire, so I just thought, why not? It gives us the loading screen for qualifying, and we will get the R&D points update here as well. You can see we only gained 38 from this session that we simulated, which gives us 529 altogether. Didn't gain or lose any reputation with any of the teams either. So now it's time to go to Q1 for a very, very wet qualifying session here at the French Grand Prix.
Welcome to qualifying for this weekend's French Grand Prix. The teams are making their last-minute adjustments before the lights go green, and the fight for pole position gets underway. And As we count down to that green light, I have to say, Anthony Davidson, that this rain is not showing any signs whatsoever of abating. I imagine we'll be looking at some last-minute setup changes to better adapt these cars to the conditions. What do you think?
The trouble is, Crofty, they need to be thinking about the race tomorrow. You don't want to go jacking up the ride heights and piling on a few points of extra downforce that you're not going to want in the Grand Prix itself. The Parc Fermé regulations mean that you have to make that choice. The best thing the drivers can do is adapt with the tools they have available in the cockpit. Moving the brake bias forward will help stop the rear end slipping out under braking, and opening up the differential can really help tame the oversteer on corner exit. The drivers that can make best use of these techniques will have the best chance for success here today.
And now we move on to the first qualifying session. And it is full wet conditions, so we're just going to go straight out and make a run for it straight away. See a very wet Paul Ricard circuit here. And we're right up behind this Toro Rosso. Now, one thing that I have noticed so far in this Formula 1 2019 game is that the player is pretty OP compared to the AI. The AI seem to be very hesitant, especially under brakes. If you compare it to last year, 2018, the AI were just mega awesome in the wet as we go past that Toro Rosso now. But yeah, very different story here as we go into turn one, run a little bit wide with us not having done any wet running yet this weekend. So this was just serving as a test for me, just to see how the car handled in the rain here at Paul Ricard's. We missed another apex, and then another one just to boot it. But even with me missing these apexes, we're not doing too terribly bad. We're pushing in areas where we technically shouldn't be pushing. As you can see upon the minimap there also, we've just absolutely streamed away from that Toro Rosso. Like he was standing still as we were getting onto the straightaway. So we go on to the second part of this back straightaway now. And we go purple to the second sector there. Sergio Perez currently with a top time of 1:56. Now Lance Stroll has eclipsed it with a 1:56 of his own. Get a little bit of oversteer there after that long right-hander. We go for a bit of a drift through the next left-hander. Lando Norris now 1:55. We come up to the DRS detection zone, jam it down to third, and get down to second gear as Pierre Gasly gets a 1:54. And we put down the throttle and we come across the line. It is a 1:52. And so far we are 2 seconds in the lead, and as you can see here, we have just absolutely smashed it. We got first position, as you can see there, Lucas Weber down in 15th to advance to Q2. Devin Butler and George Russell down in second last and last respectively. That's not good for our teammate, and even worse for our rival, as we head on to Q2 now. And this is where you'll really start to see that the AI are just terrible. I had a quick little look at the weather just to see what it was doing, and yeah, it's indeed still very heavy rain. As we're just going to ride on board quietly for this one. here. We're on the run up to the line again, and again, as you saw this lap, continuing the trend of not knowing what an apex is. We got a 152.666, which is good enough to top the timesheets here in qualifying 2 as well. Big mistake in the first and second corner, which allowed Norris to actually get away from us a little bit there, but we caught back up to him on the back straight. Lucas Weaver is out of Q2 in 11th position, and we're just ahead of Pierre Gasly and Max Verstappen there in the Red Bulls. Now we move on to Q3, and what is again another very wet qualifying session. But see, this is what I was saying about player being fairly OP in the wet. Just seems that the AI just play it way too safe. These corners here, this final sector, gets me every single time. I'm so bad in this final sector that it's not even funny. We're going to turn 1 now. We actually hit the apex this time, and we do pretty well in the second part of it as well. And we lock up slightly going into turn 3. Still fairly amazingly hitting all the apexes so far. We definitely go purple to the first sector here as we make our way along the long back straight. Get slowed up just enough to take the apexes on these corners. You don't want to get too close to the curbs when it's raining, or else it will spit you off a little bit, and it can be hard to recover. Pierre Gasly goes for a 154 to set the pole time so far, as we take all the curb that we can on both the entry and the exit to that very fast right-hander, down to the long, slow right-hander after it. And we are chasing that red dot in front of us. You can see that I've also changed the mini-map here in between sessions. We're seeing the full track instead of just the small portion that I'm running on. We go for another big drift in the penultimate corner. We hit the last corner, take all the curb we can, thunder down the straightaway, and it's pole. A 152.076.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Williams, Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup
that
for the
was
big race
an
tomorrow.
excellent result for
be sure
us.
to join us then for what
But
will no
I'm sure
doubt
that's going to be
a
very
fantastic
short-lived
race.
as we head towards the dry race, which will be coming up in just a second. We'll get our interview with Claire and the rivalry and R&D point updates.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. It's been a great qualifying session for you. Are you going to carry that momentum into the race? The weather hasn't been ideal in qualifying. What's your take on it? Great. Well, that's everything.
Alrighty, now it's time to see the updates in the rivalries and the resource points. And we've absolutely smashed it out of the park in the rivalries, and in fact we've almost beaten Devon Butler here. If we can get all 5 points in the race, then that means that we will have won that rivalry. See, we're getting a lot of resource points here from the qualifying session, and we've gained a lot of respect with every team. And of course we haven't gained any more Williams because we're already maxed out on the Williams respect.
That was a good qualifying performance.
Now we're going to go and check the message real quick to say that we're having a dry race, and not just dry, it's going to be sunny the entire race. So let's get into it, and fingers crossed we have a good result.
Welcome along then to the Circuit Paul Ricard, home of the French Grand Prix, home race of the Renault team, and of course a number of the drivers on the grid as well. Of the 14 races held here up until 1990, 5 were won by a Frenchman, and 4 of those, of course, were Alain Prost. I wonder who'll add their name to that winners list today. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Why don't we discuss McLaren? They haven't had any retirements in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
It's a good statistic for sure, as it demonstrates not only mechanical reliability, but consistency from both drivers as well. These are 2 of the first boxes you have to tick for any successful season.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. It's Williams in pole position then, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Gasly, Valtteri Bottas, and Verstappen, Leclerc, Magnussen, Grosjean and Daniel Ricciardo, Weber, Sainz, Lando Norris and Hülkenberg, Stroll, Perez, Alexander Albon and Kimi Raikkonen. Butler and George Russell ends our grid lineup. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So it looks like we've got no penalties there on the grid, which is good to see.
Okay, remember to protect the inside on the run down to turn 1. Make yourself as wide as possible, robust but fair.
Roger Dodger Jeff, thanks for the advice there, mate. So now we're going to go have a look at the strategy, and since the reverse tyre strategy worked out for us earlier on in the season, I'm pretty sure we are going to go and give that one another try. So we're going to go for the medium tyres to kick things off and end on the softer compound there. And we're definitely going to be running fairly long on that medium, but it should work out for us. So we go to the 5 red lights, and we are underway here at the French Grand Prix at Circuit Paul Ricard. And we got an excellent start there, which has not been a forte of ours. We run very wide into the first corner, almost inviting Charles Leclerc up to try and get that position from us. But we still hold him off for now as we go into turns 3 and 4. Looks like at the moment we're not being headed at all. We put him into lean fuel mixture just to try and save a little bit of fuel, because I know I'm going to be using a lot on this particular straightaway. The proximity arrow there of Charles Leclerc has not gone away. In fact, it's getting bigger. He's got the double chevrons going. He's on the inside, but we just outbrake him quite a bit there and gain the advantage. And coming out onto the second part of this straightaway, and his proximity arrow has disappeared altogether. So that Mercedes engine that we got in the back of this thing definitely showing us that it's got what it takes to get away from these guys on the straights. But now we start going into my bogey section, the third sector of the lap, and this is quite easily the place where I lose the most amount of time in the entire lap. It's generally just not a very good sector for me at all. As we come through the final corner and cross the line, we take the lead for the first lap, and we take the fastest time for the first lap. As we now move on to the end of lap 2, we got Hamilton right on our butt. Hamilton goes to remove up the left hand side, DRS has just been activated. We lock up and Hamilton makes that move look easy. Now it looks like Hamilton is on a similar strategy to us because he is on the medium tyres as well here. As we'll see at one of these points when we're right behind him. So this could be a very interesting end of the race for us if we are racing against Hamilton on the same strategy as us. We put it up into rich fuel mixture, we got DRS, Hamilton goes defensive, and we blow by him on the straightaway and make him look like he's standing still. As we now move on to the midpoint of lap number 4. Try to weave across the track to break the draft, but it looks like Hamilton's not having any of it. He storms to the outside and gets a move made on us before we get into this braking zone. And Hamilton showing that he's got the grip to outrun us here on this part of the straightaway.
We pretty much burned off our excess fuel. We'll be back on target soon.
Couldn't get a move up the inside of him there, but he's definitely showing us how it's done. Move on to the end of lap 4 now.
The tyres are okay right now. We anticipate good levels of grip for the next few laps at least.
Hamilton gets the fast lap of the GP. And we go for a move on the outside. We go very deep, lock up. And that's allowed Hamilton to actually get away here and has allowed Leclerc to close right up on our back. Leclerc peeking to the inside of turn 3. We get a corner cut there for turn 4. But at the moment, it's just all about holding off Leclerc, which is very hard with us driving so badly. Oversteering everywhere. Just a little bit too heavy on that right foot, if I say so myself.
Okay,
Leclerc gets the overtake on us, but we brake very deep and stay on the outside of him, and get the outside pass made quite easily there. Heading to that little chicane section now, the end of lap 8, and it's time for our pit stop. You see Hamilton in there. We didn't pay any attention to his tyres, but I can tell you right now it looked like he went to the white-walled hard tyres. And now the gear is unavailable. I'm not sure what the hell happened there. I think I might have let go of the clutch too early. But that was a very slow exit of the pit stop there. As we've dropped back to 5th now. As all the guys who came in for tyres earlier getting a bit of an undercut on us. But we're out on our soft tyres now, so we should be a force to be reckoned with in this race. And then we get a virtual safety car. We're having a look now, and it is Hulkenberg, the 27 car. And oh, yep, his engine just said nope. His engine doesn't want to live on this planet anymore, and it's definitely demonstrating that. So we move on to the end of lap 10 now. And this is where we really start to come into our own with the tyres. We get the easy overtake on Verstappen. And we can see right here as we get the fast lap of the GP that Hamilton is indeed on the white-walled hard tyres. We close right into him here. Now, I'm not sure who was at Mercedes who decided to do that to Hamilton, but yeah, that's pretty mind-boggling actually. That they would put him on the hard tyres. As now we go to the DRS zone on the back straight. Still right on Hamilton's tail. Now Hamilton has DRS as well. But if we're lucky, we might just be able to get a move on him. We brake very deep, go up his inside, hang on the outside of the next corner. And we're still right there looking at his hard tyre. And we get that move made. And now it's time to chase onto the tail of Leclerc. We move on to the end of lap 12, the start of the final lap, lap 13. And we're going to go look for an outside pass on Leclerc, who goes very defensive along the straightaway here. And we go for a slide, a little bit of oversteer. But we get the move made on Leclerc at the moment, and it looks like Hamilton actually got Leclerc. And now we've moved on to the end of lap 13. Final couple of corners coming up here. We're trying to see if we can find a way around Vettel before we can get to the checkered flag. We lock up very slightly here going into the final corner, and Vettel just gets an awesome exit, and that's going to be P2 for us at the French Grand Prix.
Can't complain about that one. That was an excellent drive.
Ferrari have really pulled it out of the bag today. It's a great win. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but the truth is they simply had the best speed package on the day, and a driver who knows how to take advantage of that. It doesn't matter how much time you spend poring over the stats and planning strategies if you can't keep the pace, and our winner today showed they could do both.
Ferrari are at it again, an excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
So there is the podium. We're up there in P2 with Vettel and Leclerc. Able to get back around Hamilton. I still don't know what was going through Mercedes' mind putting Hamilton on the hard tyres. It's absolutely baffling.
Let's have a quick look at how the driver's standings have changed.
Have a quick little look
This
at the
result
results
narrows
here.
the gap between our
You see, we
championship
are
leader
indeed
and the rest of the
P2
standings.
with the fastest lap.
So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Well, there's no question in my mind it has to go to George Russell. What a performance. He's got every right to be proud of what he accomplished out there today.
It's time to check out the
So
constructors'
our
standings.
teammate George
It was
Russell
a
gets
tough race
driver
for our
of the day.
championship leaders who
That's
lose
good for
ground
him.
at the top of the table. It was also a strong Grand Prix from Haas F1 this weekend. Fantastic work from the American team to move themselves further up the table. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
So there we are, P2. And we'll start to scroll down a little bit here. You can see Lucas Weber in P11, not gaining or losing any position there. We go down a little bit further. You see George Russell, our teammate, up into 15th position. And then down at the bottom there, Devin Butler. If it wasn't for the retirement of Hulkenberg, he would have been dead last. Now, I went to the race director here because I couldn't believe it, and there is the confirmation. Lewis Hamilton went from the medium to the hard tyres. And not even much going on in the incidents there either. We have a look at the standings now, and we have moved ourselves up into P5 in front of Charles Leclerc. And we go and have a look at the constructor standings as well. And Williams still in P4 at the moment. I don't think that is going to change for us anytime soon. We're just a little bit too far off the guys in front. So now it's time for our interview with Claire. Or not. No Claire interview for this one. But we see the update in the rivalry status, and we've beaten Devin Butler very convincingly. And we'll see our resource point boost here as well. I say boost because we get the 600 resource points there for reaching the team objective. And again, we gain reputation with every single team on the grid for our second place finish there.
Great work this weekend. It was fantastic to see you up on that podium.
And now it's time for a contract negotiation. We go in and have a look. And we're definitely going to try and sting Williams for everything we can get. So we go level 3 on all of these areas. And
Okay, that proposal looks good. It seems
yeah,
all
it's a
parties are happy
successful
with the deal,
negotiation.
so it'll commence at the next race weekend.
Their contract value is apparently dirt compared to us. I mean, we asked for all the best things that we possibly could here. And yeah, it was unwavering. As we move on to the R&D tree now. And we're gonna put that ultimate upgrade, or sorry, that major upgrade back on for the engine. And we're actually going to go for a couple of aerodynamic upgrades here. The next race being in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. I couldn't decide which of these two upgrades I wanted to go for, so I actually ended up going for both. And there is a confirmation of that. And that has pretty much wiped out our resource points. But at this stage of the video, guys, I'd like to thank you all for coming out and having a watch. It's been a great episode. We had a win and followed that up with a P2. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And as per usual, we will leave you guys with the highlights package as provided by Formula 1. So until the next video, see you guys next time.